Adolf Hitler, a man whose name became a symbol of destruction, fear, and war. But behind the speeches, the military parades, and the image of an all-powerful dictator, there was another story, a story of sickness, obsession, and dependency. Few people know that Hitler's body was falling apart long before the war ended. And the one man who knew every secret about it was his personal doctor, Theodor Morell, the man who kept Hitler going, dose after dose, injection after injection. This is the true story of what Hitler's doctors gave him, and how the drugs that were meant to keep him strong may have destroyed him from within. When Hitler first met Dr. Theodor Morell in 1936, he was not yet the broken man of the late war years. He was already the Führer of Germany, admired, feared, and surrounded by loyal followers. But Hitler suffered from something that deeply embarrassed him: severe stomach cramps, constant gas, and painful digestion. He believed it was due to his strict vegetarian diet and constant stress. Doctors around him had tried many treatments, but nothing worked. Then came Dr. Morell, a slightly overweight, confident man known for his strange but effective medical methods. Morell promised Hitler that he could make him feel better within days. He gave Hitler an unusual treatment, Mutaflor, a probiotic made from a harmless strain of E. coli bacteria. It was originally developed in 1917 and was supposed to help rebuild gut health. To everyone's surprise, Hitler's stomach pain improved almost immediately. From that moment on, Hitler believed Morell was a genius, his savior. He appointed him as his personal physician, giving him complete control over his health. No other doctor was allowed to treat the Führer without Morell's permission. And that was the beginning of a very dangerous relationship. Over time, Morell started giving Hitler more and more drugs, often without fully explaining what they were. Every time Hitler complained of pain, fatigue, or anxiety, Morell had a new injection ready. He carried a suitcase full of pills, vials, and strange mixtures. Some of them were harmless vitamins, but others were far more powerful. Each morning, Hitler received multiple injections, vitamin shots, hormone boosters, and stimulant mixtures. His daily medical routine looked more like a laboratory experiment than healthcare. Morell's treatments included glucose, testosterone, caffeine, adrenaline, and even opiates, all mixed in ways that no normal doctor would recommend. He also gave Hitler Eucadol, a strong opiate similar to modern-day oxycodone. It was supposed to relieve pain, but it was highly addictive. By the early 1940s, Hitler's body was being flooded with chemicals. Historians estimate that by 1943, he was taking up to 70 different pills a week and receiving several injections a day. Hitler's health became increasingly unstable. His aides noticed that his mood changed rapidly. Sometimes he was calm and full of confidence, and the next moment, furious, shouting, and trembling. In newsreel footage from the late war years, Hitler's left hand is often seen shaking uncontrollably. Some historians believe he suffered from Parkinson's disease. Others say it was the side effects of his heavy drug use. Dr. Morell, however, denied that anything was wrong. He told Hitler that his tremors were just due to stress and exhaustion, and continued to give him injections of stimulants and painkillers. One of Morell's favorite drugs was Pervitin, a German-made methamphetamine. It was widely used in the Nazi army under the name tank chocolate, to keep soldiers awake and energetic during long battles. Morell began giving Hitler Pervitin to help him stay alert during meetings and speeches. At first, the drug worked perfectly. Hitler felt energized, focused, and powerful. But as with any stimulant, the effects wore off, and he needed more to feel the same. Soon, he was trapped in a dangerous cycle of dependency. Hitler's generals and staff started to notice. They described how Hitler's eyes looked glassy and unfocused during long meetings. His skin became pale and greasy. He often sweated heavily and suffered from violent mood swings. Morell's treatments continued, but now even more extreme. He gave Hitler Bromnervicet for anxiety, Dolatin for pain, Coramine for fatigue, and Eucadol to lift his mood. He was also given barbiturates, sedatives that can cause dependence and memory loss. It is believed that Hitler was rarely sober from drugs in the final years of the war. By 1944, Germany was losing on all fronts. The Allied forces were closing in from the west, and the Soviets were advancing from the east. Hitler's mind seemed to crumble under the pressure. He spent long hours in his bunker, obsessed with maps and moving imaginary armies that no longer existed. Morell stayed by his side, continuing to inject him with what he called vitamin cocktails. In truth, these mixtures were full of powerful substances, including amphetamines, opiates, and hormones. When Hitler felt too tired to speak, Morell gave him another shot. When he couldn't sleep, Morell gave him a sedative. When his energy dropped, Morell gave him a stimulant again. His body never had a chance to rest. This pattern created what doctors today would call a chemical roller coaster, constant highs and crashes. One day Hitler seemed unstoppable, full of manic energy, shouting orders that made no sense. The next, he was silent, paranoid, and trembling. Even among the Nazi leadership, Morell became a controversial figure. Many top officers, including Hermann Göring and Heinrich Himmler, hated him. They thought Morell was poisoning Hitler. Some even called him the Reich injection master. But Hitler trusted him completely. When generals suggested removing Morell, Hitler became furious. "Only Morell understands my body," he would shout. He believed that every time he took Morell's treatments, he felt reborn, even though those treatments were slowly destroying him. Historians later analyzed Hitler's medical records, which survived the war. They revealed an astonishing list of drugs: Eucadil, strong opiate; Pervitin, methamphetamine; barbiturates, sedatives; testavirin, testosterone hormone; chloramine, stimulant; bromnervicid, anti-anxiety; Mutaflor, probiotic bacteria; glucose and vitamins; atropine and strychnine in small doses. Some of these drugs counteracted each other. For example, a stimulant would raise his heart rate, then a sedative would slow it down. This constant push and pull likely caused severe damage to his nervous system. In the final days of the war, as Hitler hid in his underground bunker in Berlin, even Morell could no longer keep him functioning. Hitler's face had become pale and bloated. He could barely stand without shaking. His teeth were decaying from years of poor health and drug abuse. On April 22, 1945, Hitler had a violent breakdown in front of his staff. He screamed, cried, and admitted that the war was lost. 2 days later, he dismissed Dr. Morell from the bunker. It was the end of their 9-year relationship. Without his medicine, Hitler's condition worsened quickly. He could barely eat, and his mental state became more unstable. Less than a week later, on April 30, 1945, Adolf Hitler ended his life in the bunker. After the war, Dr. Theodor Morell was captured by Allied forces. He was never formally charged with war crimes but was questioned about his role in Hitler's drug use. He denied poisoning Hitler and insisted that everything he gave was for the Führer's benefit. However, the evidence showed a different story, a long list of drugs that kept Hitler alive but deeply addicted. Morell himself died in 1948, overweight, sick, and forgotten. His reputation was destroyed, and history remembers him as the doctor who fed the dictator's addiction. So what did Hitler's doctors really give him? Not just medicine, but a dangerous combination of chemicals that turned the most feared man in the world into a physical and mental wreck. His body became a battlefield of drugs, stimulants fighting sedatives, hormones battling exhaustion, and painkillers masking the damage. Each injection might have given him temporary relief, but it also took away a piece of his health, his mind, and his humanity. By the end, Hitler was no longer the confident leader of 1936. He was a frail, trembling shadow, kept alive by daily doses from a doctor he trusted too much. And perhaps that is one of history's strangest ironies. The man who caused so much destruction across the world was slowly destroyed by the very treatments meant to save him. In the end, Dr. Morell's medicine didn't just change Hitler's body, it might have shaped the course of the war itself. His unstable moods, irrational decisions, and bursts of energy followed by collapse could all be traced back to his chemical dependence. The story of Hitler and his doctor is a chilling reminder that even the most powerful people can be brought down by something as small as a pill or an injection. And sometimes, the greatest dangers don't come from the outside, they come from within.